champion. Chris, not rock. Who's gaming?
What's up, folks? Hit Points Gaming here with our podcast. Chris, how you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Corey, how you doing?
Excellent. I'm glad to be here.
Wonderful. So today we have a plethora of different topics to talk about in regards to how to get your friends or how to get other people into things like video games. We're going to do VR, we're going to do board games. But first, of course, we're going to start off with what we've been doing. I am playing the $15 Mass Effect Andromeda that I got on sale. And besides me enjoying the fact that it's beautiful on PC and it looks good, right now I've realized really early on that they took out one of the major parts of Mass Effect, which is there's no more Paragon and Renegade. So when you talk to people and you make different choices on how you want to act, it doesn't affect your character at all. It only affects what the person basically is going to say back to you, which to me is kind of whack. It is interesting to play a Mass Effect game where you can jump around the environment everywhere, do jump dashes, hover, and that's kind of cool. You know, it's something that is just, you figure it's something that you don't need, that you don't miss when you play games like The Witcher and Mass Effect. You don't miss it. Even Zelda, you know what I mean? Like, you don't really jump in Zelda, but to have it and be able to jump on structures and stuff is pretty awesome. Combat's the same, really. And that's it, really. I've just been playing that and trying some new VR stuff, and that's really it. Oh, Cuphead, of course. I'm trying to get all S ranks in Cuphead, which is proving to be a little bit difficult, but I'm enjoying it anyway, fighting the same boss 150 times.
Does that mean you just don't get hit? Like, how do you...
So you can get A+ on normal, which is you don't get hit, you get 3 parries, you build 6 meter, and you have to beat it in a certain amount of time. Then expert, in order to get S, you got to do the same thing on expert pretty much. Okay. And the difference, as an example, is like, say you have a boss that's 2 characters at once. Before, they used to kind of trade their moves, and now they're doing moves at the same time type of thing. So everything is faster. There's more stuff on screen, and I got everything but 1 on the first stage right now as S rank. Cool. And then you can also get P, which is pacifist on the run and gun levels, which is you're not allowed to shoot at all, which is it is tricky to do.
You gotta get the smoke bomb.
I have the smoke bomb, and I spam it all the time. But that's about it for me. Chris, what have you been up to?
I've been playing a lot more Doom 2016. It's awesome. I'm hoping that'll lead into another topic we're going to talk about, but later on, another podcast. But yeah, I'm having a really good time with Doom. Playing Heroes of the Storm. That's really it. I tried to go back into Titanfall to play some Frontier Defense, and it's just really long game times, like to get into a match. So I got a couple games of those. That's really it for me.
Corey, what have you been up to?
Destiny 2 on PlayStation, grinding that out, enjoying it. I just really like how you don't have to play every single night and feel like you're missing out. You can play once, maybe twice a week, get everything you need, and then just wait another week. So I really like the formula that they did with the second one. And one piece of news that just came out, I just received a email confirmation that they will be shipping Kingdom Death 1.5 very shortly. So we'll be getting the new rules, and we'll probably be starting a 3rd campaign. Definitely looking forward to that.
That sounds great. I'm actually excited to watch that because I usually watch that stuff while I play Elite. And hopefully our viewers and listeners are excited to watch that as well. Kingdom Death is one of the most watched playthroughs that we have here on Hit Points Gaming, and it is great. So I hope everybody is into that.
Real quick, talking about Elite. I'm sorry to cut you off, but talking about Elite, they had the Oculus conference was this week. So there's a lot of cool Oculus, news coming out. $400 for the headset price drop.
Yeah.
That's pretty
major.
Cool.
That is major because Vive is still $8, and Oculus is better. It's better.
I don't want to say that, but I kind of want to agree with you. Yes.
I'll elaborate a little bit later. But so what we're gonna really go into is we're gonna talk about how to get your friends or other people, into basically the hobbies that we do here at Hit Points Gaming. And depending on the people, it could be a little bit easier, it could be a little bit harder, but there's definitely steps to take to gauge their interest. And usually if they're not interested in the beginning, they're not going to be interested at all. So I think let's start with Corey. As far as board games go, what is your process for getting people into things, and what should they look out for, stuff like that?
Sure. And Doug, I'm going to start with a good point that you actually just mentioned. A lot of people will try to get into the hobby. Maybe they're not aware of, what we're into, and you can completely steer them the wrong way right off the bat, and then that's it. They'll never want to partake in anything again with you, or it's just something that they have no interest in. But for all the things we're going to talk about today, there is something out there for everyone. The only thing is, the hardest part is having them want to try. So starting with board games, there's going to be two different types of board games that someone talks to you if they don't know the hobby. One, they're going to say, "Oh, do you play Monopoly? Or do you mean you play Dungeons and Dragons?" Those are the two extremes that anyone knows, whether it's your parent, whether it's a new person, boyfriend, girlfriend that you just met that doesn't know about the board game hobby, or coworkers at work, right?
And mind you, I'm sorry to cut you off, but if you say Dungeons and Dragons straight up front, it's over.
Oh yeah,
it's over.
It's a very tough tight walk, because you're like, so what's it more like? It's more like Dungeons and Dragons, but that's like the far extreme, so they just don't know. Like, the only way they'll know is if they walk in that small little corner of Barnes & Noble where they have all those board games there. That's the only time that they'll see it, because Toys R Us doesn't really carry the games that at least we play. So this is a prime example, because one of our good friends, for years, almost 20 years now, is interested in playing a game with us, and she's never played this whole process with her. And the first thing that you want to do with a new person that I found out is you want to start with smaller, like quicker games. So really anything that's like maybe a half an hour to an hour, maybe an hour and a half max, because you don't want to play these epic games or really 3 or 4 hours long, because they just might not enjoy it and completely tune out, and then you're going to have a bad time, where there's a lot of rules that you have to explain up front. So you want to start with like a small, a quick type game. So maybe in one night you might even be able to get 2 or 3 different games in. There might be something they like or not. From there, you want to really emphasize theming. So if you have a collection of games that fit that timing category, you might want to start by asking your new friend or partner, "Hey, does anything sound interesting to you?" Whether it's, pirate racing, or fighting as monsters, or aliens, or fairy princesses reading a fairy tale storybook. There's so many different types of themes out there, and once they get that initial buy-in, I think they'll be more interested in playing the game, and that's how you can kind of hook them right from the beginning. So I don't know if there are certain themes that you guys enjoy playing. Like when we've obviously played a bunch of different games, but do you ever find yourself like enjoying a particular theme when we play?
For me personally, I really like the spacey stuff. I liked, I think it's called Zaya, right? Zaya,
oh yeah.
Yeah, Zaya. I like Zaya a lot. And then, of course, I always mention Twilight Imperium when we talk about this stuff. But on the other hand, I do like the other kind of games that we play, but there's so many, and it's like I like the mystery stuff, the escape the room stuff. Some of the fantasy stuff I don't like as much, but there still was a couple that I loved. Like I love Descent. I thought Descent was fantastic. Mm-hmm. I don't like card-based stuff so much. I don't like heavy card games. I just find myself not doing as well and not being able to manage myself as well as if I have figurines and I'm rolling dice. I don't know what it is. That's just me. Chris, what about you?
I hate deck building games. For much as themes, I don't really care about if it's space or zombies or anything, but like the types of games, I hate card-based games like building a deck. And I really enjoy games like Kingdom Death or something that you have a character and it persists throughout multiple playthroughs. It seems like those are more fun to me, kind of like that collect and gather kind of thing. But a theme, I don't really care if it's in space, fighting zombies, or people, fantasy. It doesn't really matter. But
Well, you guys bring a good point. So since you don't like card type games, and if someone says that, that's not the game you're going to put out to the table the first time they play, because they are
Right,
not
right.
going to enjoy it, of course.
Right.
And what you're really trying to do is once you find a particular game, you want to start with one new, let's call it like a mechanism in a type of game, so that you can build on that mechanism in future games. So for instance, King of Tokyo. It's about a half an hour long game where you are obviously a monster, you're versus other people, but the whole point is you roll these 6 dice. And you're allowed to re-roll those 2 more times to make like your best collection of dice. So that's something pretty easy to teach. It's something that this new player might not know, because really they just know the whole roll and move from Monopoly.
Right.
But everything you want to teach them will build. So now there's a future game we might play down the road, and I can say, hey, it's just like King of Tokyo where you roll the dice, right? You remember that? Oh yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
you want to like build on a particular aspect when you introduce them to a new game. One thing that I think is a pitfall, especially something that I've ran into before, is you really don't want to start off with a cooperative game. I found out, because here's the deal: you might think like, oh yeah, this would be good for them to learn. We can all win as a team. But here's the thing: if they don't have the buy-in, you're going to have people that are more experienced really just controlling their character or making the decisions for them.
Oh,
That's a good idea.
You're
Yeah.
right.
And they're just going to sit there and kind of hide, and they're not going to know what to do. They're not going to have fun, especially if you play a game like Shadows over Camelot or, I forget another one, Dead of Winter, where there could be a traitor aspect involved. So if they become the traitor, they don't have anyone to ask specific
What to
rules
do.
to, right?
Right,
They
right.
stay hidden. So I think the cooperative game is something that you move to maybe to the next level. Once they get a few games under the belt and they feel confident, then you can move to games like Zombicide, where it's pretty fun and easy to learn as a team. Or, Doug, to your point, I think an unlock game is actually something you could start with right away, because
Right.
people are kind of aware of the, escape rooms, and you don't really need to know much about games. Everyone knows a little bit about puzzles. So that's something that could work. From there, if everything works out right, you can find out what games they enjoyed, and then what they didn't like. Maybe they don't know what deck building is, but they didn't have a good time, so you stay away from those. The next time you have a game night, and then from there you can move to like games that are a little bit longer, maybe 3 to 4 hours. Maybe it is the co-op games, and if they still have their buy-in, great, because eventually you're gonna want them to get to Twilight Imperium. Not everyone makes it there, but that would be the ideal goal. That would be awesome. But if not, you're going to have that person that wants to come over and just play like Settlers of Catan or something. And that was the first game for me to really get back into this hobby. I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago or so. I think we've all played board games before, but I heard about this game called Settlers, and it just kind of like restarted this whole engine of collecting games and seeing what else is out there, like a European style type game. And I think that's where we're going to start. I think it's a very good game. The theme is kind of silly. Settlers of Catan, you trade resources and you're a farmer, basically. But once someone plays that game and grasps it, they see victory point conditions. They see like there's like a kind of like a deck management or hand management with like resources, and you really talk with your fellow players. It makes the game colorful at that point. So I definitely recommend Settlers as one of the first games to get. And then from there, you build out your library, and it's always good to have. My final tip is it's always good to have someone else new. So yes, you can start with one person teaching them the game, but that's very helpful, because now you got 2 people learning, and they just don't feel like they're the one left out. Everyone else knows what's going on, and they kind of don't like the game. But if 2 people are playing for the first time, you're gonna have a better time.
That's it's, and you know what, it is interesting you say that. I personally haven't felt that way, but I could definitely see someone having that kind of emotion to be the only one, and they'll especially if they're losing, they'll constantly feel behind. They're like, I'm not good enough. Where if they have somebody else that they can kind of go back and forth with, even if it's just a